I thought that the new policy that the NFL put out there was ridiculous, that this was an issue that I don't believe players were thinking about anymore. And I'm not talking about why they were kneeling. Of course, they're always thinking about that. Many players in this league, Doug Baldwin, Malcolm Jenkins, just to name two, there are many, who are being about it, going to state houses and speaking to attorneys general and speaking to local police chiefs about the issues of the day in their mind and why many of them have, like Kenny Stills of Miami, taken a knee, et cetera, et cetera. But the absurdity of the new policy that the NFL had installed back in May was brought home into focus for about an hour yesterday when the Miami Dolphins had filed paperwork with the league, as all teams, I guess, are required to do, about what their team rules are going to be and what suspensions, what certain violations of team rules would mean in terms of suspensions. And somebody noticed in the paperwork that the Dolphins had filed that the new national anthem policy, in which teams are being fined, they can pass the fine on to the player. We wouldn't know that because fines are usually kept private when it's a team to a player. But teams get fined by the league if a player kneels during the national anthem this fall. And again, players had the right to be in the locker room during the national anthem. Essentially, if you want to protest, do it with the lack of your presence instead of being present and taking a knee. So somebody noticed in the paperwork that the Dolphins had placed this national anthem policy into a spot where a player could be suspended for up to 4 games for violating. And it's like, excuse me, Jameis Winston just got 3 games for doing something to an Uber driver between her legs, allegedly, because he didn't have to verbally admit to it. And it's just like, wait a minute. You got a 4-game suspension? I mean, we've heard about a fine, but a 4-game suspension, like, what does this mean? And while that furor was hitting everywhere, and honestly, I do not know if these items are connected. They can't be because the players, I don't think, because the Players Association and the league announced together, that they're working on this. By the way, on the same day that the Senate voted 98-0 on something, the Players Association and the league get together and send out a press release. What an interesting day.
Gosh.
And to that, I say this. This is, and of course, everyone's like, oh, the league can't get it right, and what a cluster F, what have you. Take the mulligan. I'm glad this mulligan is being taken. This is what I want to see. I want to see the league and the players working together, coming up with something that they can introduce together. Commissioner on the stage, players behind him in lockstep, saying, this is what we are doing. This is why we are doing it. This is what you should not be, people who are listening, offended by, because this is what we are doing. And the players feel that they are invested in being heard. And hopefully this leads to better relations for 3 years from now when the collective bargaining agreements talks start. I'd rather see a mulligan being taken where they say, let's stop, where what we announced in May is not in effect right now. We're putting that aside. Full stop. Grievance that's been filed, we're full stopping. We're sitting here during this important conversation that we're going to have. I don't know what they're going to come up with, but we'll see. It's better than what it was 24 hours ago, just by merely doing this, in my humble estimation.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.